one thing as the House of Black has kind of gone along and everyone has been enjoying it so much. And then Buddy Matthews got released, right? And everyone really started going, oh, maybe there could be members to the House of Black, Buddy Matthews, I should say. Man, like, is that something in part of your vision? I'm not saying in particular for Buddy, but like, do you extend the House of Black? Is that something you'd like to incorporate?
So, like, of course, there's always like thoughts and ideas and plans that I have. And I think for the majority of my career now that is still to come, I think that like, you know, Buddy and me are going to be intertwined no matter what, whether that is on a television setting or when it's a more independent setting. I don't think I can ever escape him fully because of what we did there that had such an impact on the status quo, because
it was so good.
I remember when that happened, the reason why it happened so many times is because when we did that first match, it kind of turned the eyes a little bit. And I remember coming in and Paul going, hey, so we want to run that match again because the ratings on it were really good. So let's do it again. And we're like, okay, yeah, cool. Can you guys do something similar? I'm like, yeah, you know, because Buddy is a very creative individual. I think him and me are the perfect blend of me telling him to slow down and him giving me more stuff to think about. And then we did it for a third time because eventually Vince liked the match so much that he was like, well, let's keep on going with it. And like, you know, and it was just, I really felt that we did something good back then, you know,
it was
people
very, very good.
About it now, you know, people still talk about those three matches. And, you know, to answer your question, the House of Black, like there's always things that I'm thinking about and there's always thought processes, but I don't know if Buddy would be a guy that would be in it versus more against it. You know what I mean? I don't know what I don't know how he feels about, you know, that House of Black thing. I don't know. Like I said, I think we're better rivals than we are allies. But, you know, I don't know what the future holds. But, and like when it comes to the House of Black itself, you know, I've thought about putting people in. Like I recently spoke about that on a live Q&A where I said like a person like Abaddon, I feel like would fit greatly because I feel that she could use something as that to really like, you know, establish herself, because you can use that like that foundation, no pun intended, because I say house, but that foundation of what I'm building with it as a way to kind of like put her roots in the ground and start growing, you know, because now she would have a solid spot and she could like, you know, franchise out or build. And, you know, there's guys that I think about, like a lot of times guys like, you know, who would fit like Butcher and Blade would fit on a different level, like Brody King would fit. You know what I mean? Because he's a guy, like he obviously he's one of my best friends, but also just from the wrestling perspective, he has a certain aesthetic that would fall in line with that. But obviously, and even though like, you know, we know what's currently going on with Ring of Honor, I don't know what his next venture is. And I'm not saying that as I truly don't know, you know, like I don't know what the next steps are for him. I think right now he's just kind of like figuring out what he's going to do, which I understand. You know, the man's got a family and a mortgage and all that stuff, so he's trying to make some moves. But I think with something as House of Black, you can go so many ways. But then there's also the allure of like, what if the House of Black is just the name I have for my fan base, which is what it is now. You know what I mean? Because I feel that there is a certain group of fans that understand what I do is not necessarily the right thing to do, but they understand why I do it. And I feel that this has always been the strengths of my characters, because I've always had a little bit of those in between type anti-hero characters. You know, like I do things that for conventionalism are not necessarily, you know, good things, but there's a rhyme and reason to why I'm doing it. And when you understand the rhyme and reason, you can support it. And I feel that's what I evoke a lot of times with the fans that like, you know, embrace me because it's different, it's unique. And, you know, it started with the entrance and stuff, and, you know, creating different aesthetics that I feel that even though not always necessarily are on the button or explained, you feel a certain affinity with it. You can relate with it because there's something dark, something cool, something different, and it attracts you to it.
Yeah. I love that you mentioned there as well about like the fans and their kind of reception and how that's all been going. Talk to me about facing Cody on the way in, right? Like, whose idea is that? Because it's, you know, how has it all come about? Because in a way, he's ended up being the perfect foil, right? Like the story that's been told of your character. I honestly don't know if I could have thought of a better one now that it's happened. Do you know what I mean?
It was Tony's idea in line with Cody. And, you know, no big deal, you know, compete against one of the best wrestlers in the world, one of the biggest names, one of the biggest lineages in the world of professional wrestling. And, you know, also being in charge of a big part of that company. No pressure. You know what I mean? Come in and just have, you know, I have a lot of respect for Cody. I don't think we'll ever really see eye to eye, but I have a tremendous amount of respect for him. And, you know, he's dangerous in the ring. He's very calculated, incredibly smart, but I'm glad that at least out of the 3 times that we competed, out of those 2, I was smarter 2 times than him. And like I said, even back then, it wasn't about pinfalls for me. It was about seeing how far I could push him. You know, and the same night, like the guy that would have usually reached the ropes were stomping me in the face. And the guy that would have in the beginning never thought about throwing me through a table because he's too much of like a guy that plays by the rule, he threw me through a table. So there's a lot of stuff that I made him do that he wouldn't have necessarily done initially, you know? And I guess I did it's almost like I did a little bit too good of a job, but, you know, from a competitive point of view, I think we're very evenly matched. I think him and me will intertwine for the duration of my steps within AEW, which I hope there are many, and which I hope it's a very long period for me. As I said, I truly feel like I'm just scratching the surface of what I'm doing here. But yeah, Cody, I don't think I'll ever completely get rid of Cody, but I also don't want to get rid of Cody because I feel like Cody and me are almost like a little bit destined. It almost falls in line with me and Buddy Matthews, to that point where me and Buddy and me and Cody have this symbiotic relationship almost, where we bring the worst and best out of each other.
Yeah, that dichotomy. Yeah, I totally agree, man. You know, you're just thinking about it now after what you said about your character and how the fans react. I loved that Dante Martin, not just the match, but the after match, gave me like serious kind of like Undertaker Jeff Hardy vibes. Just your nod to him, right? Like, and that even just something so small as that did so much. Talk to me about, like, you know, is that a guy that you were like, yeah, I want to work with Dante Martin because he is mercurial to say the least?
I think for a kid who was in his 20s, early 20s, to have the ability that he has, that match for me was a way of saying you're either it's make or break.
Sure.
You know, I think that, you know, he's fearless. He's extremely talented. He's a little ahead of himself, but that's where people like me step in to bring him back a little bit more. From a competitive point of view, I feel that he has the capacity, if stating the right course, to have this Will Ospreay-like effect on high flyers. And that is incredibly high praise.
It is.
Whether you love or hate him, Ospreay is a guy that from the moment I saw him, I told him, if you stay the course, and you can ask him this, you're going to change the world of professional wrestling, the high flying part of professional wrestling. Same with a guy like Ricochet. You know, he falls in that category of the Ricochets and the Will Ospreays. You know, when I met Will, all he wanted to be was Ricochet, which I get, because Ricochet is a game changer. You know, if we're talking about the Ricochet, we're talking about the Amazing Reds, we're talking about the Rey Mysterios, we're talking about the Kentas and the Marufujis, the guys who in that more modern day setting changed the landscape of wrestling. You know, even a guy like Brock Lesnar, who completely changed the entire landscape. Roman Reigns is doing it right now. You know, just adding to that legacy. And I think that Dante, if staying the course, he can have that effect. And look, he's a young kid. He's a young kid that can have the effect that on an independent level or on a higher level can do something in wrestling that makes him stand out. So that not for me was an acknowledgement of, you gave me a run for my money that I wasn't expecting. So good on you, kid.
Yeah, I thought it was really good storytelling stuff there. But I do want to say this. I spoke to Big E on Saturday, WWE in the UK. Yeah. So I went to Wembley and saw him. And I was asking him, man, because that was like the last thing you did in WWE. And I was like, you know, I was a big, at that point, Aleister Black fan, big E fan. So I see this happen on SmackDown. I'm excited. I said to Big E, did you know what was up? And he said, well, no, it happened really quick. He said, like, he didn't know much about it before the match, so he doesn't know where it was going. But he did say, obviously, he's delighted to see how great you're doing. So I just thought I'd let you know that he said that. But also, did you have any kind of ideas at all? Or was the same for you? Was it just sprung?
Yes and no. The only note that I ever got was that it was going to lead to me and him at SummerSlam.
Okay.
That's all I know. And after that, it was whatever it was going to be. When he won the world title, it was exactly, I think, 2 months after I got released, and he was kind of in limbo. And then very quickly they were building him up to, rightfully so, be the champion. And it's funny because obviously I did something in my way that caught the eyes of the world of professional wrestling. And he did something that he set out to do since starting his journey in professional wrestling. And I messaged him, and he gave me the best message back. And we both agreed, like, man, what a change that 2 months can make for two individuals that were basically lost in a shovel and, you know, were set out to do great things. And then were kind of like muffled down. And then, like, in 2 months' time, everything changed for the both of us. And I have a lot of love for Big E. I have a lot of appreciation, a lot of respect. He's a immensely talented individual, a guy with extreme resilience, a positive attitude beyond anything that I've seen in a very long time with people, but also stood the test of time for his own career and, you know, made the best out of what he was given and made it work time and time again, because even when they gave him something he can work with, he made it work. And that's the true professional.
Yeah. Just in closing here, before I let you go, thank you very much for your time as well, Malakai. I just wanted to say, man, like, you know, it looks like since you've joined AEW, the character is obviously a big part of you. It looks like you're having a wonderful time. You're going out and winning tag team titles again in PWG. You know, with all this freedom, you look like you're having kind of the best fun of your career. What's next for you in AEW, man? What would make Malakai Black happy?
What make me happy if I can spread my wings even more, create more memorable moments, be responsible for platforming AEW to an even larger audience, be a part of the fabric, and helping younger talent, you know, reach their potential and become what they can be. And just creating more lore for Malakai, creating more opportunities, and you know, having more multiple matches with, you know, with some of the people that have already wrestled, like Amir and Adam Cole, but also with guys like Kenny and Hangman Page, and like, you know, even more of the younger kids, where it's just like, you know, there's like so much that I can do, and so much that I haven't even I haven't even scratched the surface with this character and all the things that I have in my head and all the stuff that I've presented to Tony and all the stuff that I haven't presented to Tony. And then for that reason, the world, you know, there is at the moment almost like a unlimited amount of creative thinking that I have, and an entire platform for me that goes, hey, bring it, whatever you got, let's do it.
Yeah, man. I mean, when I think about, you know, AEW has 4 major shows a year, and I'm like, you know, okay, let's plan out 2022 for Malakai Black. Punk, Danielson, Kenny, Hangman. Hangman's a conflicted character who Malakai Black could really get into. You know, oh man, the possibilities are just there. I'm really excited for you, man. I'm happy to see you thrive. Thank you so much for joining us ahead of Full Gear.